Okay, we learned how to deal with local adaptive reactions. Did you guys get certain change in the state of your local complaints? Yep, your local little pains and aches. So you got certain difference. So hopefully you will remember really clearly how you deal with local adaptive reactions. So when your client, just to reiterate, so when your client has a concrete complaint, which he can point with a finger or at least specify the area where the complaint is, you first of all concentrate on that area. You assess the complaint on scale from 0 to 10, initial condition of the complaint, and you also assess the function of the affected area, whatever the function is. Also, you can grade it if it's range of motion in degrees, if it's digestive function, you assign the number to it. So in any situation, assess the initial condition of the function and complaint before you start it. Then you start working with the point of pain. You work in the area, you identify the smallest symmetry, you work on the smallest symmetry, trying to remove it, right? Trying to get it equalized with the rest of the skin, and after that again assess your complaint and your function. And if it's not enough, then you continue. After you're pretty much done with the point of pain and your complaint gone down substantially, you don't have to wait until it's gone down completely, but substantially minimized. Then you go to symmetrical part, reciprocal parts, right? And absolutely the last, not the last one, but one of your points will be the corresponding vertebra. Correct? So we remember that. But your agenda is to eliminate the complaint, get it down to 1 or 0, and improve the function. The function may not be improved completely in one session, but at least, restored in one session, but at least try to get it improved. So that's how you work with the point of pain. Is that more or less you comfortable with that? Mm-hmm. Good, great. Now, Bonnie?
So do you have to go to preferred points and back to the spine, or do you just resolve it in the area? Is that enough?
If you resolved it in the area completely, that's pretty much enough. The body doesn't have anything else. Unless you want to spend extra time, it's always a good idea to go to corresponding reciprocal points and corresponding vertebra. But if, let's say, you had an acute complaint, someone sprained, a shoulder, and you worked on it and pain gone down to 0, that's pretty much enough. Mm-hmm. So we usually go to the reciprocal points or spine if complaint didn't gone to 0, or it's unsatisfactory still. So we just continue with that algorithm. Now, what do we do if a client cannot localize the complaint? So what if client says, well, I do feel yucky all over, I just know something is wrong with me, but I can't pinpoint it. All my muscle hurt, I can't sleep, I don't have any energy, and I just feel crappy all over, but if you ask me to pinpoint where the problem is, I don't know. Obviously, there is not a state of health, right? So we know something is not right, but we don't know what, and we don't know where to start. So remember that except for local adaptive reactions, we have general adaptive reactions which work on the entire system. So we can improve adaptivity of the entire system. And then when it's done, the system may bring up the problem. Or may not, it may resolve the problem. So when we have the situation when there is no concrete complaint, then we work on general areas of regulation and addressing general adaptive reactions. General adaptive reactions usually are addressed in the areas where you have the most direct access to the autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic and parasympathetic part of it. Because the autonomic nervous system mostly is responsible for our healing reactions. So we want our C fibers. We want release of our neuropeptides in the bloodstream in large amounts. So you want your sympathetic, parasympathetic system stimulated. So, and where that would be? one of our main areas of general regulation, our basic area of general regulation, we call 3 pathways, 6 points. And we already touched on that. 3 pathways is the central spinal line, right? And 2 paraspinals, meaning about an inch to the right and to the left from the central spinal line. Kind of where blood meridians are going. There is a certain order in which we address 3 pathways, 6 points. And right now I am just showing you working with 3 pathways, 6 points, what we call in subjective mode, meaning just relying on your observations, on your client's feedback, but not working with the figures on the screen. You actually can identify your small asymmetry, not necessarily how we looked at it with a stickiness or redness or change in sound. You also can find small asymmetry taking readings, taking measurements with your machine, and the highest reading on your assessment in your assessment mode will give you the small asymmetry. So you can do the same thing for 3 pathways, 6 points. We'll touch on it later on, but that will be objective assessment. Now, how do you work if you don't have the screen, if you don't have the reading, if you have something like CDAV or DAV, or you have just a laser? So what do you do? 3 pathways, 6 points start from the C7 area. They start just below C7. Okay? C7 considered to be a separate zone in scanner therapy, and we try in this particular technique not to cover C7 itself. So we start from below C7 in the center. So that would be our first pathway. We start below C7, we go all the way to the tailbone, just moving your machine down, and then we go to the neck and we finalize on the neck. So we're kind of making a loop which does not cover C7. So you start below C7, you go up, you finish above C7. You do it in the center, you do it on the left, and you do it on the right.
And you just go down, you don't go up and down?
You can do pretty much up and down too. We prefer to do it in one direction, but if you do it up and down, you can do that too. Again, we prefer to do it in downwards if a client has a tendency to high blood pressure, upwards if low blood pressure.
So then, and right and left.
And right and left. On the right and on the left, don't worry about C7 because C7 already is not there. So it's in the middle. Left and right. Your left and the client's left, of course.
Client's left first.
Yes, and the right. So this would be 3, and I will show you in a second. So that would be 3 pathways. 1, 2, and 3. On your way, you're looking for your small asymmetries. Because if there is any area of stickiness anywhere, and you do it several times, you do your loops several times. So if you find area which is sticky, which you most likely will, because it's corresponding vertebrae to something, then you just stay there as usual, dose, or walk with your asymmetry, whatever you find. Now you go to the face, and we have continuation of our 3 pathways on the face. We do not do pathways on a face, but we do 6 points, which we already showed you with the trigeminal nerve. These are areas of exits of trigeminal nerve. So these are your exit points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we always like the 7th point to finish it off with the 7th, with the 3rd eye point. On these points, of course, you are not looking for any small asymmetries because it's just points. So you stay on them, but between 30 seconds and 1 minute, depends on what kind of condition you have. By doing what you're doing, you stimulating the entire central nervous system, spinal cord, plus autonomic nervous system, because you have sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous ganglia all around the spine. So you're getting the entire nervous system covered. Is it going to shake your system? Absolutely. That's the whole agenda, to shake your entire nervous system and make your entire body respond. This is our very basic technique. Don't forget, it's called 3 pathways, 6 points, 3P, 6P. And we recommend it in any situation. Even when you have a local problem, even if when your client does have a local complaint and you work on something local, if it's chronic, most likely any chronic process involves the entire system, because process doesn't go chronic unless the entire system is involved. So you're treating, let's say, osteoarthritis of the knee, and you may do a couple procedures just locally, and reciprocal points and corresponding points on the back. But next time, do 3 pathways, 6 points. Address the entire system or combine it in one procedure. You can do local treatment and do 3 pathways, 6 points. So you're addressing local adaptive reaction and general. There is no contradiction. You can do both. It all depends if you have enough time. Okay. So first of all, we will of course assess the condition, right? Well, hopefully Bob is healthy and he doesn't have any particular complaints. And you pretty much can do this thing on a healthy client just for maintenance purposes and to stimulate general adaptive reactions, just general adaptivity, and in the flu season to stimulate central nervous immune system. So it's all good. Now we need to find C7, right? So we will run our little finger over here, and the first prominent vertebra would be your C7. So when you don't know where C7 is yet, I would suggest to mark the top and the bottom of it, so you're pretty sure. But right now I'll just press on the area where C7 is, so you can see a little redness. But that's what we will start. So we will start from the bottom of C7 and on the top of C7. You're turning your machine on. It can be 715, CDAV, any scanner. You can do it even with a laser. But with a laser you will be moving a little slower. Better with a scanner for this particular situation. You set your energy level somewhere away from the area. And set it just so you feel it, but not too much, okay? And we start from below C7. We're just going slowly on the central line, trying not to detach the machine from the skin, and going right down to the tailbone. And I'm picking up a little resistance in your lumbar area, and we'll finish over here just like this. Then we will continue next loop. Right over here, some resistance. And over here. And you can do it faster if you want to. Okay, definitely here, right? Yeah. So now we got our small asymmetry. And if you didn't get it in the first few strokes, just keep going until you get it. If you didn't get it, 3-5 times is enough. But I get it right over here. So because I got it here, I can work on it. And when we are working on it, we can work in the stroking motions, or we can just put our machine there and keep it there until it doses. I prefer stroking motions. To me, it's faster. And in this situation, you can go back and forth. Try not to go across, just up and down, back and forth. And see what happens. So your agenda is to remove it, right? Any pains in the low back? Okay. And typically, low back pain there. Well, now we are releasing. So let's check. Yep. Okay. And last loop. Yeah, now it's slide nicely. Now we're going left root, right? Left root, we don't have to worry about C7. Let's see if it over here. But we still start from the line of C7, even though we don't worry about crossing it. And the left side doesn't give me any signs, so I'll do it 5 times and that would be enough. Yeah, and now right side. And you can do it slower too. On right side, get me something over here. right over here. Little asymmetry right here. Okay, let's work on it. Yeah, let's try. Oh, still there a little bit. Yeah, pretty much gone now. And if you can see, it's turning white a little bit, right? The symmetry.
From back here, I can see the first stroke of the white. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much done. So we could spend longer time in order to create a release of large amount of peptides, but I think it will be okay for now. And if we ask Bob to turn around now. Now we have 6 points on the face. Now, with the face, you have to be careful because what was good for the back, energy-wise, it will be too strong for the face. So usually, if you had to increase energy level for the back, put it down to minimum on the face. But we didn't increase, so hopefully it will be okay. Remember, put your finger down to the chin from the angle of your mouth, and where your line crosses the jawline, right there is your point. So on the left, there is your point.
And just on regular mode, like this one?
Just on regular mode. So 30 seconds or a minute to this one. Next one would be over here. And of course, make sure that there is contact, because if you have beard, then you have to make sure it reaches the skin. If that beeps, that's fine.
So the plate can start with the right side.
Client's right, but it's your left still.
And is that because it crosses over at the
Correct.
atlas?
Correct. Now the second point, pair of points would be centimeter to the side, centimeter up. So somewhere over here. Now the electrodes most likely are too big to cover exactly point. You don't have to put the entire electrode on a face. If you just get a little bit, it's enough. So we would put it a little bit on the angle, over here. So it just beeps a little bit, okay? 30 seconds here, and you can do it that way. 30 seconds on this one. Now, third pair of points is a little tricky because there is eyebrow here. The actual point is 1/3 of the eyebrow and on the edge of the orbit. So you lift the eyebrow like this and put your machine on the angle so it doesn't press on the eyeball, but it still covers that little point. Okay, like this. Okay, 30 seconds. And on the other side, so you lift it a little bit and put just an angle of your electrode. Just like that, right? And the last one would be right in the middle. That's all.
I've been letting it dose. Is that enough?
Fine. If you can wait for the dose, great. I'm just saying for the sake of saving some time. Yeah. Now, that was in subjective mode. Okay. Let's see how we're gonna do that. Taking readings. Okay. Bob, do you mind to switch again to the back? So you put your machine, if it's 735 or 715, anything that gives you measurements, into assessment mode, and keep going same way. You just taking measurements and looking on the screen. You're looking for the highest measurement. In this situation, you are just using your upper points. How do you call it? The outside electrode. So vertically, like this. So you would take your measurement 1, you would take a measurement too. The only thing is, here you will need to have a marker. I will not be marking Bob's back, but you need the marker. If you definitely see the higher reading, you put a point there, right? Because otherwise you will get lost. Yes, so like we had high reading over here.
Now this is the way you used to do it with the first stage.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
First generation scanners do that.
But you get a spike on it every time you touch the skin, the initial spike.
Not really. If you can see, I didn't get any spikes. Oh, but that was the highest reading so far. So you're actually looking for the highest reading.
So Dr. Arena, what I've been doing is using it the other way and putting it actually in between each person where the nodes come out. Is that...
Sorry, I didn't get it, Stan. Oh, David.
So in between each vertebrae, I've been using it where the nerves come out of each vertebrae and putting it the other way. So you've got that vertically.
Oh, yeah, you can do that too. I prefer that way because I have more measurements this way. Okay, that's the highest so far. See, guys? The one that I just measured was the highest. And this corresponds, by the way, to the area where doves stick, remember? That's exactly where doves stick. Oh, the second one even higher. So off we go. See that bars? And yeah. So I'm keeping my fingers on the two highest readings. And we would get the last one over here. No. So we got two highest readings. We retest them. What my suggestion is, get 3 or 4 highest readings and do them again. Retest them. We need also to do the neck because it's the same root. I don't expect it to be high, but never know. Nope. So I had 1 high reading over here and 2 high readings over here. So I'm retesting it. And interestingly enough, I'm getting the highest reading over here. So that's why I'm gonna dose. Okay?
Okay, now, wouldn't you change off the assessment to dose?
You can, but you can also, assessment is a treatment at the same time, so you pretty much can do it in assessment mode too. I will not be waiting for the dose, but this, basically what you're doing, you're selecting the highest reading, right? Out of originally 3 or 4 higher ones, you're selecting the highest, and then you do your assessment. Same thing on the left, same thing on the right. In the end, you go to the facial root. So if you can go around, let me see with the face. So you get 3 doses on the back for each root, and you will get the same on the face. Okay, got 1. That was high one. On the eyebrow, enough again, just 2 electrodes is enough. Okay, out of the last 6, if you can see that the 4th one was the highest one. So that's what we dose over here. Okay, and your last dose will be the 3rd eye. So that's all. But simple enough.
I didn't get the dosing part because if you leave that on there, what are you looking for if you're just holding it there for the dose?
You just as soon as the machine gives you the dose, not the dose, the signal.
Right.
That's enough.
Right, but you said you could
No,
also...
in order to get the dose, you have to go into treatment mode.
Oh, because you said
S1.
you could do either one. I thought
You can treat it, yeah, but it's better to go into treatment mode and get to the dose. I might misunderstand something. Sorry for that. Guys, is that clear? Yeah, that's it's not difficult at all. Okay? Now, this is 3 pathways, 6 points. This is a really common technique. And utilize it as often as you can. Objective, subjective, doesn't matter. I prefer when you're using the machines like 735 or 715, which do have assessment mode, to do it in objective mode. If you have the DAV or any kind of machines, the OC DAV, something that doesn't have a screen, you don't have a choice but do subjectively. Other areas of general regulation. This was 3 pathways, 6 points, is good for anything and everything, any condition at any situation. Local, general, good. There are other areas of general regulation which will be very helpful for you to work on, and you can also use them for any condition because they're areas of general regulation, but also okay, but we don't need that one. But also for areas of particular interest. For example, if you have stressed individual, you probably want to use the zone called the collar zone. Collar zone consists of areas on the right and on the left of your shoulders. That considered to be one pathway on the right, one pathway on the left. And this area also includes your adrenals and your forehead. It's called the collar zone. So that's mostly for stress-related disorders or disorders of reproductive system because of the reciprocity, right? So for this one, principle stays the same. You just go with your, like we did our palm tree, remember our, Christmas tree? You go looking for areas of small asymmetry this way, or areas of small asymmetry that way. And wherever you find asymmetries, you of course treat them. You go that way, you go this way. That's one. The second one would be forehead. You go to the right, you go to the left. And the third one, you would do your adrenals. Right? In subjective mode, you look for small asymmetries around the neck and shoulders and on the forehead. Adrenals, you just stay there. Small areas, you can't find really small asymmetry. Now, in objective mode, when you take measurements, the order of taking measurements would be as follows. 1, 2, 3, 3 stops on the neck. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 positions.
Could you just run through that quickly again?
Yes. First you do on the left with assessment mode, objective mode. 12 positions on each side. Goes as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Same thing on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? And again, looking for the highest. And dose it on the left and dose it on the right. On the forehead, usually only 3 positions. 1, 2, 3. Dose the highest. 1, 2, 3. Dose the highest. And out of adrenals, dose the higher one. And that's an objective mode. Subjective mode, you just iron it, find small asymmetries, right? Clear on that one? So this is the collar zone. Now another one is zone palm. Palm is an interesting zone. It's called palm, but in reality, it is the zone of your reproductive organs. It's just that we only cover area that client's palm covers. So we take client's palm, put it just above the pubic bone, and that would be the area for you to walk. Subjectively, you start ironing it and looking for small asymmetries, right? Then we take a client's palm and put it on the sacrum area, and that's going to be area for you to walk. Iron it, look for small asymmetries. This area includes 2 additional points that would be C7 and the thymus. Symmetrical. Okay. And you stand on each one. If you decide to go for objective mode, you can measure the front in any possible order. Select 1 dose on the front, 1 dose on the back, and you can dose thymus, dose C7. Thank you very much. Good model. Okay, these are considered to be big zones, and we have one more big zone to cover. And here we go with abdomen. With abdomen, we have 2 ways of approaching abdominal area. The simplest probably one is the spirals, abdominal spirals. And we don't need a model for it because we have a model on it. So all you need to do, you start from the navel area and you start doing spirals around, slowly moving your machine clockwise if client has tendency to constipation or just normal, and counterclockwise if client has a tendency to diarrhea. So with the food flow or against the food flow. That's probably the simplest. If you find any areas of stickiness, whatever small asymmetries, you of course will work on them. If you don't find it, just do several spirals. Please notice that first we do the extending spiral, like starting from a center and going to periphery by increasing range of, extending circles. But then you start narrowing your circles back to your navel, right? And then I'm going extending one and then narrowing to your navel. So you're doing spirals like this. That's probably the simplest. There is another way of doing the abdomen, and that's called 5-point star. With a 5-point star, you do 6 positions in a certain order. That would be your first one right under your, how do you pronounce? Xiphoid process. That's your second one. 3. Well, we lost 4. 4, 5, and 6. Back to the position number 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to the position number 2. This technique, as well as spirals, are great for parasympathetic activation. Of course, they will be great for digestive problems, no question about it, but also to stimulate parasympathetic nervous system when you need to do so. And of course, parasympathetic nervous system is very important for our sleep disorders, and the 5-point star technique is known to be very good for depression for some reason. Now you can do that in subjective mode again and stand on each point certain assigned time. It can be a minute, can be 2, can be 3, whatever you want. Or you can dose them all, or you can measure them all and dose the highest. If you're in objective mode with 715 or 735. If you are in assessment mode, my suggestion is measure them and dose the highest out of 6 positions. Now this technique also has the last step, step number 7. After you performed all 6 points, ask the client if there are any painful areas in the abdomen a client feels. And if there is any painful area, go there and dose it. because it may not happen in the very beginning. It may not, your client may not locate the pain in the very beginning. But pain may show up in the end of the procedure when pretty much everything is done. Okay? So that's 5-point STAR technique. Pretty clear, guys? We don't have to demonstrate it, right? So in the end, when we finish everything with general areas of regulation, my suggestion to you would be to go in pairs again and try on each other one of those techniques. Anyone. Just to make sure that you're comfortable with them. Now, these were big areas. 3 pathways, 6 points, collar zone, zone palm, abdominal, right? You can utilize them again for any kind of condition. They're good for anything. They're stimulating general adaptive reactions. Now we have smaller zones of general regulation, which don't forget about them. It's easy to include them in your procedure, and they're very effective. Smaller areas of general regulation would, if we go from the top to the bottom, skull is a general area of regulation. You can use hair attachment if the client has hair, but some lucky people don't have hair, so they can utilize, they can utilize this great general area of regulation at any time. So you would do watermelon. Remember watermelon? Right? Watermelon technique, right? That way. Ring, Pirogov's ring, is a general area of regulation. Your ears, remember? You would rub your ears or just stay on your ears. General area of regulation. Socks and gloves, remember that one? Right? Socks and gloves. Projection of your large organs, internal organs, such as organs of elimination. Liver, kidneys, stomach. Projection of spleen, because spleen is one of the major parts of the immune system. And one of the most efficient areas will be ovaries and testicles. We already know that too, from our immune modulation protocol. Be careful with testicles, they're very sensitive. So what you do, you put your machine all the way down, energy level wise. And just slightly press against, well, not you, but your client. You usually give a machine to a client and ask a client to perform that procedure.
We got a couple women in here that, bring them on, come
on. Typically we just ask a client to do it, and they would put the machine on the testicle, lift it a little bit up, press it against the body, slightly increase the energy level until a comfortable buzzing sensation, and keep it there just for about 5 minutes. No dosing, just 5 minutes. So these are smaller areas of general regulation, working in motion. Guys, if this is fairly large areas and you have to move your machine, always look for small asymmetry. For example, on the skull. When you're doing your watermelon, look for areas of small asymmetry. You find it, you work on it. Remember, that's projection of your energy cyst, so you need that. And the same with socks and gloves. You can find some areas which are stickier than others, of course. Now, there are 4 points which please include always at least one of them in any procedure you're doing. They're my favorites and they're very effective. It doesn't take much out of you to keep your machine for a minute or 3. If it's a laser or scanner, doesn't matter, on one of those points, or 2 or 3 of them. But they're very effective. So we already know all of them, but I will repeat. Third eye, right? Your thymus, C7, and the tailbone. In any kind of combination, you can use one. If you have 2 machines, put 2 machines on any 2 of them. If you have a scanner and a laser, put your scanner on third eye and your laser on the tailbone, or the other way around. One on the thymus, another one on C7. Combine them, alternate them, but please, these are very important points. C7 is your junction box and known to be an immune vertebra. So when you need immune modulation, C7 is your vertebra. Third eye, it's the sixth chakra. It's the intuition point. It's the balancing of mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. It's a direct route to your brain activity, to your hypothalamus, to your pituitary gland. So it's extremely important point. Your thymus, it's your immunity. And your tailbone is your parasympathetic. So even though they seem to be really simple points, it's only 4 of them. It's easy to remember. Please include them in any treatment you do, even if you're treating sprain or strain. You are dealing with a client who is in stress because they had an injury. So please put it there. Just give them the machine, put them on a third eye, and deal with something else. So don't forget about that, please, okay? Laser or scanner, influence it with anything you have. But these 4 points are very important. All of them are optional. And each one of those points will influence the entire system. So when you don't have any particular complaints with the client, you can choose any one of them in any combination. You can. We typically suggest to do 3 pathways as a big one and 2 or 3 small ones. If you just choose not to do 3 pathways, you can do 2 big ones, let's say neck and shoulders, collar zone and the palm zone, because of reciprocity, and again 2 or 3 small ones. Or you can choose do just 1 big zone and 2 or 3 small zones. Still good. Okay? Is that more or less clear? I know it's a lot of information.